curses were thin, hammered thinly, okay? So, here's the aluminum foil. We're going to pretend it's lead. And if you're a curse maker, and you're a curse maker with pride, and not one of the sleazy, cheap kind, you're going to have a nice rectangular square piece of lead like this. And you're going to hammer that thing out thinly. Why? Because in a little bit later, we're going to have to bind the curse or fix it. In other words, we're going to basically set off the magic and force the deity to do our bidding. In Latin, curses were called defictiones. That's where we get the word to fix, to fixiate. And essentially it means bind, control, harness, all those kinds of words that signify force and constriction. Okay, so we have our thinly hammered lead. Now the next thing we need is a stylus. And I don't have a stylus. A stylus is, a little writing instrument that you'd want to write out that curse I spoke earlier about be he man or woman, rich or poor, young or old. But I do have something that'll work just as well. And that's a Roman crucifixion nail. This is a genuine Roman crucifixion nail. It's been through a fire, which is why it's curly at this point. And I did get it through TSA, flying down here. They have not bothered me a bit about it, which is great. And though this actually is going to have a double purpose with the curse. First, we're going to use it to write, and then we're going to use it to bind. So the first thing we do is use it as a stylus, and we're going to write out the curse itself. And remember I said, whoever took Tana's sandals, be he man or woman, rich or poor, slave or free, young or old, may he not be able to use the bathroom, may his insides rot from within, etc., 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 until he brings back the sandals to the temple. Okay? So we write all this out very carefully. Set aside our nail. Now, here comes the binding part. And this is why you want to hammer this out very thinly. We need to fold this. Now, some people in Uli, the other town I mentioned, other than Aquasulis, rolled tablets. And that is one way to bind it. Roll it. It's also hell on archaeologists later because you can't unroll it to read the curse. And there are lots and lots of curse tablets in England, in Uli, that have not yet been deciphered because the metal is so fragile that if you try to unroll it in order to read it, it falls apart. And they're attempting new technology to try to kind of read it from within. And I'm not sure how it's all working, but they're doing what they can. So we're going to fold ours. And the Romans were numerologists, something they sort of picked up from the Babylonians along with astrology. So the number of times you fold it has a significance. In our case, we're going to fold it 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now, we have the folded curse. This is lead. Now, already you know that the only person who could read this in this way would have to be a god. No one else can read through lead. Superman didn't exist at the time. So we have this curse, and there's one more thing we need to do to fix it, to bind it, to make sure that the deity involved, that the deity whom we are asking to help us in our quest for justice or love or money, to ask that deity to do our bidding. One more thing. We have to bind the curse. And that's where the nail comes in one more time. When we take the nail and we fix it to the lead. In this case, hammer it through. And that is a charged curse. And this, with all of its magic intact, we walk over to the sacred spring and we throw it in and ask Sulis to make it come true. Okay. So that's how a curse works.